Steven, I wanted you to come on the show to tell me that you think I'm a great boxer.
I think you're a damn good boxer with a lot of potential. And I got one problem with you, and I told you this already. You are skilled. You cannot be going in the ring beating up on dudes that you know don't box. You can't have a basketball player, UFC fighters. No, they strike. They don't box. There's a difference. They're not on your level.
I don't know how much confidence that Jake Paul have in all this. But, you know, he's going to be a lot quicker. And if he stay close to Mike,
whatever you do, stick and move. Stick and move. Don't stand in front of that man. Do not stand in front of my man.
How about Jake? What do you think of Jake?
Clown.
Would you look at it as a joke if someone, if your team was like, yo, we want you to fight Jake Paul? Would you be like, come on, man?
I laugh at him.
Did you ever do a fight like that?
I feel as though in my career I can't do that right now.
As we all know, as a competitive sport boxing fan, this is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense for the sport, for Tank as a world champion fighting Jake Paul, as Jake Paul trying to become a world champion fighting Tank. None of that makes sense. Business-wise, this thing's gonna blow up. So let's see about the business of this thing. Let's see what the narrative is for this fight. Because again, I think Jake's gonna come in there and try to knock Tank Davis out. And if Tank's not taking him seriously, believe it or not, that potentially could happen. And I'll explain why. The breakdown, let's go.
Stephen H. Smith didn't hold back for a second. He went straight at Gervonta Tank Davis live on TV, blasting him with a fiery rant that had the whole studio buzzing. With that raw energy he's known for, Stephen A. flat out declared Davis should be ashamed for even thinking about stepping into the ring with Jake Paul.
Gervonta Davis might be every bit as box office as Maverick himself. As exciting, as electric, because this dude performs every time out, y'all. Wherever Davis goes, wherever he fights, fans justifiably follow. He's that special. And Davis is without a doubt one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world right now. Don't you even doubt it.
Smith ripped the matchup to shreds, calling it nothing more than a circus act dressed up as boxing. He accused Davis of selling out the sport for clout and quick money, warning that this wasn't just another fight. It was an embarrassment. His voice thundered as he painted the picture of a proud sport being turned into a sideshow. And the size difference, Smith hammered that too. He pointed out Jake Paul walks around at 200+ pounds, while Tank is a lightweight at just 135. He questioned if Davis was risking the sport's credibility just to chase headlines, warning fans that this crossover clash could stain boxing's legacy forever.
I can't buy the hype at this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please, with sugar on top. I'm interested.
Stephen A. warned that Tank Davis was playing with fire, risking boxing's name by turning it into a sideshow. He reminded fans that this wasn't the first time he had something to say about Tank. After that heated and controversial majority draw against Lamont Roach back in March, Smith had actually shown Davis some love. He highlighted Tank's insane record, brushing off the doubters and saying Davis proved he had the mentality of a real champion, steady under pressure, unshaken by critics, and quick to demand a rematch to prove himself again. Smith even went so far as to rank Tank in his personal top 3 boxers in the entire world, hyping up his freakish knockout power and elite skill set. To Stephen A., Davis is the definition of a world-class fighter. But here's the twist. While Tank is a legit champion, Jake Paul is still just a YouTuber who stumbled into boxing, as Smith framed it. And that's why he exploded. For an established star like Tank to waste his prime on someone like Jake, Smith said it was embarrassing, beneath him, and straight up shameful. A matchup like this doesn't lift boxing, it drags it down. Smith doubled down, saying Tank Davis wasn't just risking his own career, he was gambling with the entire sport's credibility. He argued that the whole setup reeked of desperation, like boxing's elite were lowering themselves just to cash in on internet fame. To him, that's the fastest way to drag boxing's name through the mud.
Jake Paul is a professional. At some point in time, I don't give a damn if it's a light heavyweight. Beterbiev, Bivol, a super middleweight, Canelo, Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, somebody that actually has a reputation. The time has come for Jake Paul to step into the ring with a cat who actually boxes for a living and give us that fight. I appreciate the fact of him promoting. I appreciate him having the cachet as a former YouTuber turned boxer. I like Jake Paul. I respect Jake Paul. I'm just saying, because I like him and because I respect him, I want to see him in the ring. And I don't want to hear, I know his numbers are better, but then he's going to say, I don't need Canelo. Canelo needs me. Well, wait a minute. It ain't just about popularity, bruh.
He reminded viewers that legends built this sport on grit, legacy, and respect, not YouTube theatrics. For Davis, a proven world champion, to line up across from Jake Paul felt like a slap in the face to every fighter who bled for their shot. Stephen A. practically shouted that fans deserve real battles, not circus fights packaged for clicks and streams. And the money excuse? He wasn't buying it. Smith claimed Tank could fill arenas and headline pay-per-views without ever touching Jake Paul's name. By agreeing to this fight, he said, Davis opened himself up to being mocked as a sellout, chasing hype instead of greatness and risking his whole reputation in the process. Stephen A. didn't just rip into Tank Davis. He went after the whole wave of mismatched exhibition fights that have taken over boxing. He called the Paul versus Mike Tyson spectacle flat out sad and even disgusting, saying fans deserved real fights, not cash grab events where one guy is way past his prime. His message was clear. If Jake Paul wants real respect, he needs to stop clowning around and step in with actual contenders who are hungry and in their prime.
Right. Jake Paul responds to Gervonta Tank Davis call out and absolutely takes the moment and the opportunity to clown Gervonta Tank Davis's height in the sport of boxing. And he says here, is there a height limit in the sport of boxing? This is where Jake Paul says, and his team, Gervonta Tank Davis needs me. We don't need Gervonta Tank Davis. Let's listen here.
Gervonta Davis just posted that he would beat the brakes off of you if you guys fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super, super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
Is there a height limit in boxing?
Still, Stephen A. gave Jake a little credit, admitting that the YouTuber turned fighter knows how to hype a crowd and sell a fight. But he made it crystal clear. Attention isn't the same as credibility, and boxing can't survive on gimmicks alone. Then came the curveball. After Tank Davis publicly called Jake out following the Tyson fight, Jake tried to flip the tension into comedy. At the press conference, he cracked a joke about Davis's height, comparing it to weight class restrictions and wondering if there should be height rules too. It was playful, but also shady, reminding everyone of just how lopsided the matchup looked while keeping the spotlight firmly on him. Is there a height limit in boxing? Jake Paul joked. But the buzz didn't stop there. Rolando Raleigh Romero chimed in, saying a Tank Davis versus. Jake Paul fight on Netflix would be a massive draw, especially for the younger crowd in the US. He admitted that a Canelo versus Crawford matchup is pure boxing excellence and would light up fans across Mexico and Latin America. But for American teens and Gen Z, he claimed Davis versus Paul would break the internet and bring in bigger numbers stateside.
To keep it solid with you, I'm not a fan of this matchup at all. You got Gervonta Davis, who's been eating county jail spreads for the last month and a half, and he didn't look good in his last fight against Roach, where he had a draw, but most people felt like he got his ass tapped, so he needs the money. Then you got Jake Paul, who gets to beat on a nigga a whole foot shorter than him and 100 pounds lighter than him. And I think this is just nasty work. This screams money grab. And then you know what? The fans lose in the end on this one. Netflix wins, Jake Paul wins, and Tank wins. We lose. Nasty work.
Romero framed it as a win-win, saying both fights could push boxing into new markets and grow the sport's global footprint. But not everyone was impressed with Tank chasing the Paul spectacle. WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson came in hot with a direct shot at Davis, calling the move flat-out disrespectful to the sport. Stevenson didn't just talk, he threw down a challenge. Confident he's the top dog in the division, he told Davis to forget the circus fights and step in the ring with him if he really wants credibility. To Shakur, that's the only way Tank can prove he's serious about legacy and not just chasing hype. Tank's longtime trainer Calvin Ford made it clear, if anyone can beat Gervonta Davis, it's Davis himself. Speaking to Stephen A. Smith, Ford insisted that no opponent has truly pushed Tank to his breaking point yet. He even hinted that fans haven't seen the full version of Davis, saying his focus is to unlock an even more dangerous level of greatness inside his fighter. Boxing legend Teddy Atlas backed that up with major praise, calling Tank the most complete fighter at lightweight. Atlas broke it down. Davis isn't just about knockout power, he's got elite footwork, sharp counterpunching, patience, and a cold intelligence that makes him unpredictable in the ring. In Atlas's eyes, Tank's boxing IQ is just as deadly as his speed and style, and that's why he believes Davis is the only man with the tools to outsmart even the most defensive fighters. Meanwhile, on the Toe to Toe podcast, the heated debate over the potential Jake Paul versus Tank Davis exhibition was boiled down to one simple truth. It's less about skill and more about what the fight represents for the sport's future.
We talked about the possibility of Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, and that one got me a little excited and gave a lot of credit to Paul if it was going to happen, because he wouldn't have all the advantages that we've been accustomed to seeing him have, right? He wouldn't be the taller, the longer, the younger fighter in a lot of cases that he has.
And he'd be in with a real boxer, a real world champion boxer, that the only other time he was in, for the fans to get mad with that, was against Fury's, Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, it seemed crazy. You're going to go in there with a guy who was a two-time heavyweight champ and a gold medalist? Wow. Even though the guy's, at a twilight part of his career, still.
And you've given a lot of credit and props to Jake Paul on this show of helping get more eyeballs to the sport, but the way he takes it serious and goes about his approach and his work to this craft, that he does take it seriously. With that being said, when he announces Tank Davis, I'm getting tired of these gimmick fights and him loading the deck up. Whether it was Chavez Jr. or an old Mike Tyson, or we could go on and on with some of the UFC guys and the great Anderson Silva at 46 years of age. Tank Davis, great fighter, current fighter, world champion. We know how good he is. Been a top 10 pound-for-pound guy for you for the last few years now. But he's 5'5" and 135 pounds. This sounds like it would be a 195-pound fight.
On the Toe to Toe podcast, the Jake Paul versus Tank Davis debate exploded into a full-blown war of opinions. One host argued the fight was nothing but a money grab, warning that it could stain boxing's reputation for years to come. He compared it to a reality show in gloves, blasting Davis for lowering himself just to chase hype. But the other host fired back, saying people underestimate how much these crossover events pull younger fans into the sport. He claimed boxing needs fresh blood and viral moments to survive in today's world, even if it means purists are left shaking their heads. Fans who tuned in were just as divided. Some flooded the chat calling the matchup a clown show, while others admitted they'd watch it in a heartbeat just to see if Tank would humble Jake Paul once and for all. The clash of views turned the podcast into a microcosm of the entire sport. Tradition versus spectacle, legacy versus entertainment, respect versus ratings.
The world to recognize. This is one of the top 5 fighters on the planet. He might be top 3.
Yeah.
You can make a legitimate argument for him to be in 3, 1, or whatever. Frank Martin, props to him, came into the fight 18-0, 12 knockouts. Clearly did not have the power to keep Gervonta Davis from stalking him from opening tap. That's what he did. He stalked him and stalked him and stalked him. Okay? Frank Martin caught him with some good shots. Gervonta Davis kept coming. So he can punch. He's a knockout artist. He can box. He's not given enough credit for it, okay? He closes. He finishes. Once he smells blood, he's like a shark in blood-infested waters, Molly. He will finish you, okay? And by the way, he is an elite boxer. And so the time has come for this man.
The toe debate cut deep because, as one analyst put it, no real boxer would ever turn down a fight this big, no matter the weight or skill gap. The money on the table was simply too heavy to ignore. And that's exactly what critics pointed out. The financial upside was overshadowing the true spirit of competition. Tank Davis, a proven champion with unfinished business in a potential Lamont Roach rematch, chose the pay-per-view spectacle instead, and that raised serious eyebrows. Gary Logan and David Aliyah didn't sugarcoat it. They argued boxing is stuck in a cycle where money and exposure outrank legacy and real rivalries, even for elite fighters. Damian Moore echoed that sentiment, calling Paul versus Davis controversial but inevitable, admitting it was driven by entertainment value more than athletic merit. Sure, it'll grab headlines, he said, but at what cost to boxing's credibility? Then came the warning shot. Former heavyweight Eddie Chambers spoke up and aimed it straight at Jake Paul. He stressed that stepping in with Tank would be unlike anything Jake had faced. No retired athletes, no rookies, no easy prey. Chambers highlighted Davis's explosive power, insane speed, and scary ring IQ, warning Paul that the ferocity Tank brings would flip his YouTube boxing world upside down. The potential fight between Jake Paul and Tank Davis has been blasted across the boxing world as nothing more than a spectacle dressed up as sport. Commentators slammed it as greedy, cartoonish, and embarrassing, claiming it's driven by cash and clicks, not competition or legacy. To them, it's a sad step backwards for the sweet science, where clout means more than credibility. Fans new to boxing are left scratching their heads, asking what the sport truly values when lopsided matchups like this steal the spotlight. Instead of showcasing merit, skill, and rankings, the attention shifts toward gimmicks, social media buzz, and big paydays. Critics hammered the massive weight difference, with Jake hovering over 200 pounds and Tank fighting at just 135. Many called it a weight bully mismatch that makes the sport look like a parody. Some went as far as saying this fight undermines boxing's legitimacy completely, branding it a circus act instead of a championship-level showdown. Still, a few defended Davis, arguing that at the end of the day, he's chasing the bag, and in this era of boxing, money often talks louder than tradition. Former champ Andre Berto even admitted Tank probably doesn't care what purists think, as long as the check clears. And that's it for today's breakdown. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And I'll catch you on the next one.